Alrighty, greetings and salutations everyone. My name is Andrew Kirchhoff and welcome to our Friday night live stream for week 16 of the 2024 fantasy football season. Over the course of the next hour plus, we're answering any and all fantasy football related questions going into week 16. Again, tomorrow morning we'll be live here on the channel along with a Sunday morning live stream, as there are 2 Saturday games and of course a plethora of games that take place for week 16. You know, the fantasy playoffs are going to be quite interesting the next 2 days, but either way, I'll be here answering questions for the next, hour or so. Of course, answering questions tomorrow and Sunday. But as we continue throughout today's live streams, if you guys are going to send in a question via the live stream chat and or super chat to claim priority, make sure you include your scoring format, whether that be a standard, half PPR, full PPR. As I typically mention, the more context you provide, the easier it'll be to answer said questions. Now, earlier today, we did not have a Hidden Gems video. Typically on Fridays, Hidden Gems is a typical kind of run-of-the-mill content on our channel. But in regards to going into week 16 in specific, really outside of players like maybe Patrick Taylor or Tyjae Spears, the thumbnail of today's live stream, there's a reason why Tyjae Spears is here. Outside of these kind of players, really it is few and far between that we really want to mess with. We don't want to get too cute going into the fantasy playoffs. We really just want to play our studs. We want to play the appropriate matchups and of course find success in order to advance to the next round. Of course, as we progress, we'll go ahead and get into more details regarding some of the injuries, specifically Tony Pollard, the reason why I mentioned Tyjae Spears. Tony Pollard did not practice a single time this week. He was given the DNP designation every single day, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, DNP standing for did not participate. Therefore, my assumption is that by the time we get to Sunday, there is a high likelihood that Tony Pollard does not play, and even if he plays, may be at a limited capacity due to the ankle injury. Additionally, Alvin Kamara expected not to play. Kendre Miller will be in the mix. Of course, there are other running backs such as Isaac Garenda, who is not going to play. Patrick Taylor Jr. in the mix. So there are many of options that could have been within that Hidden Gems, but outside of those kind of players, very few and far between at a variety of different positions. Sure, we can throw Michael Penix there, right? Because I feel like, there's a possibility that he could go off against that defense of the New York Giants. But, in the fantasy playoffs, do we really want to send that out there? I mean, I think it's very difficult. Either way, let's get into answering some questions. The first one of the day comes in from Tex Raider via Super Chat. Thank you, Tex. Appreciate it. It says, in a full PPR, do I flex Patrick Taylor Jr., Kendre Miller, or Khalil Shakir? In a full PPR, it's probably Khalil Shakir. The second best option, in my opinion, would be Patrick Taylor, and then third would be Kendre Miller. That's the order in which I go about it in a full PPR scoring format. Thank you. Next question from you, Tex Raider says, start 2 tight ends. We have Strange, Njoku, and Kelsey. It purely depends on Njoku's health. Again, he was limited in his participation or practice earlier today. He did not practice Wednesday or Thursday, which was the exact same rotation of this time last week. Now, if in fact he's going to try to test his hamstring prior to the game, and in fact he is active, you won't know whether that is going to be the case, considering you have Kelsey who plays tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. PST. Therefore, you have to play Kelsey tomorrow afternoon, and then you will figure out whether you are playing Njoku or Strange on Friday or on Sunday morning, Honestly, just to be safe, considering there's always the possibility of a re-injury with Njoku, it's probably just in your best interest to roll with Kelsey and Strange as of this week. Your final question here says, start 1. Love, Tua, or Purdy. Out of those 3 options, Love, Purdy, Tua is the order in which I would progress them. Love and Purdy being back-to-back ranked, I'd be pretty comfortable going with either of the 2. Earlier this week, I was a little bit sketched out regarding Green Bay Packers receiving options because there was a potential for weather. The only game that will be dealing with heavy weather conditions is Seattle versus Minnesota in Seattle. That is the only game. Outside of that, every other game either has clear skies or is in a dome, so we're clear to go this weekend. And then you had another question. Tex Raider, you are really stretching this one out, brother. Full PPR, Flex, Hill, JSN, Rico. It's got to be Hill. With Jalen Waddle given the doubtful designation earlier today, I believe, Tyreek Hill has to be the play there. Thank you. Dragon Slayer sends it a question. Thank you, Dragon Slayer. It says, PPR, start Michael Penix if Darnold gets rain. Okay, so here's the issue with that question in itself. So as it currently stands, when we talk about the weather condition, I thought it would potentially dissipate as the week progressed. It is not. It is stayed at a 90+% chance of rain for that game the entirety of the week. So if that's going to be the case and it's going to be a heavy rain situation, the only issue that currently remains is that, again, you won't get a live look at what the rain is going to specifically look like until 1 p.m. PST in the afternoon, because that is when the Seattle Seahawks take on the Minnesota Vikings, while Penix plays at 10 a.m. 3 hours prior to that. So you'd have to just pretty much decide beforehand, before even seeing what kind of weather condition it looks like, if it's a manageable rain system, in which you'd have to decide whether or not you are rolling with Michael Penix there. If it's me, I have no visual look at what the rating's going to be. I'm just going to go with Sam Darnold because I don't want to make the mistake. But at the same time, is there a potential for maybe pivoting to some other alternative option? Sure. When we look at the afternoon slate of games, we have Geno, Darnold, Drake May, Josh Allen, Mac Jones, Aiden O'Connell. You could theoretically pivot their worst case scenario in those circumstances. Cooper Rush playing in the Sunday Night Football game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But as of right now, I'd stick with Darnold. If I can find actual visual representation of what the rain is going to look like this upcoming weekend and how heavy it may end up being, then I might feel more comfortable regarding Penix as an outright better play than Darnold this weekend. Thank you. All right, we had a question that came in from Demo305, who says, start 3 of these 5 players. We have Nico, we have Kupp, we have Hill, JSN, and Myers. Cool. Of those available, Nico, Kupp, and Hill are my 3 starters. Thank you. All right, let's see here. BF Sports Cards sends in a question, says, PPR, we have Reed, Dobbs, Patrick Taylor, or Strange. I have Love. Yeah, as of right now, of those available in a full PPR scoring format. Okay, so here's the issue that I have. I like Jaden Reed. Obviously, he just does not get enough opportunity share. Romeo Dobbs, I would probably throw in the same basket. He's going to be relatively similarly valued, but I would prefer to play Dobbs over Reed in this circumstance. As for him or Patrick Taylor in a full PPR, I'd probably, if I'm being safe with it and I'm just trying to get my 10 to 12 points, Patrick Taylor is my answer in this circumstance. Now, again, you could try to go for the high risk, high reward of playing either Strange or Dobbs. If it's my team, I'm just going to play Patrick Taylor there. Thank you. Pierre sends in a question. Thanks, Pierre. Says, hey, Drew. Same question for Monday. In a non-PPR scoring format, I need 2 between Brian Robinson, Achane, Dowdle, and Bucky. Cool. So in a non-PPR, I've kind of, earlier this week, I probably was a little bit non-committal on the direction I would go with regarding that question. At this current moment in time, I'll take Brian Robinson and I'll take Dowdle there as the top 2 options. You said take Bucky and Dowdle, but no Waddle increases touchdown chances for Achane. No, not really. Look, the workload that Achane is going to receive within the game, I don't think it really, I don't think the absence of Waddle contributes to more workload within the receiving game from Achane. Now, again, Achane has lined up out wide before in the slot position, but primarily his main, receiving tactic is out of the backfield as a check down and or as a choice route out of the backfield in which he's taking on linebackers in one-on-one coverage. So ultimately, I don't think that increases his overall Pittsburgh potential. Now, if you want to play Achane, because again, he has been the more consistent back of the bunch because of that touchdown upside, you certainly can. But again, in a non-PPR, I'm very scared to potentially roll with a player that gets 7 to 8 receptions in a game, and that's being their main priority uptick of production and what really separates them from the bunch. In this circumstance, I would rather just go after players who are going to get themselves 15 plus rushing attempts and have the opportunity of a rushing touchdown, which in my opinion in this case would be the Dowdle and Brian Robinson approach. Thank you. All right, let's hear. Scrolling down in the live chat, we had a couple more questions that were sent in. One coming in from Scott, who says the following. Scott, let me see if you had a question. I don't think it got attached. Scott says, Tracy, Madison, or Spears in a full PPR. I'm going to lean towards Spears as it currently stands. Now, this is under the assumption that the 3 days consecutive of Tony Pollard not practicing is going to lead to him missing. And even if he doesn't miss, I still may feel confident regarding, going with Spears there in a full PPR, considering the utilization that he saw late last week within the matchup for the Tennessee Titans. So I'll probably lean towards Spears as of right now. Second best option, in my opinion, would be Alexander Madison. Third would be Tracy. Thank you. Static sends in a question, says, I've got Gibbs in my, got Gibbs as by RB1. I think you meant as my RB1. Lost Kamara and Garendo. I have Kendre Miller, Tyron Tracy, and Addison on the bench. Who do I start as my RB and my flex? I'd have to play both the running backs. Again, because of the weather conditions of that Minnesota Vikings game, I don't know if I can. Well, okay, you know what you could do? You play Tracy because they play on 10 a.m. Sunday morning. And then you get into the afternoon slate. Considering you have Kendre Miller and Addison, you could theoretically at that point have a pivoting option if you wait until the 1 p.m. Pacific Standard game on Sunday in Seattle. And you look at the weather and you're like, all right, you know what? It's actually solid weather. I think Addison will be perfectly fine. You fire him up. But in the event in which you look at it and you're like, yeah, that's not worth it, then you just pivot to playing Kendre on Monday night against the Green Bay Packers. Thank you. Yeah, very seldom are you going to have those opportunities to make those pivoting options because you may not have the availability of players in your league to be able to make those moves. But in your case, you are able to. Thank you. After static, we had Joshua Delgado, who says, in a 12-team half PPR, Strange or Hawkinson, I'd rather have Brenton Strange. Again, the weather in Seattle is not expected to be a pretty sight, so not interested in dealing with that situation as it currently stands regarding some of these receiving options. Now, I say some of these receiving options. For the case of Justin Jefferson, I am outright starting him. I have to. In the case of someone like Jackson Smith and Jigba, I'm still going to have him in my top 24. I'm going to move him down in comparison to where I had him in earlier this week's Wednesday wide receiver video. But the number one receiving targets of these two offenses, Jefferson and JSN, are still going to be in my top tier rankings because they're still going to throw the ball. It's not like the throwing game or the passing game is immediately and outright going to be eliminated for the entirety of this contest. They're still going to throw the ball. But as to how effective it is, considering the weather conditions, does make them a little bit lesser options, but I'm still going to fire them up. Now, as for the quarterback conversation, the tight ends, or the secondary, receiving threats, or even the third best option within these offenses, I'm a little bit less confident regarding. I feel far more comfortable firing up someone like Aaron Jones and or Kenneth Walker, who I think are going to be great this weekend. Again, Kenneth Walker, 2 consecutive days of full practice is a very, very promising sign going into this weekend. All right, let's see here. We had a couple questions in the chat. Let me just go ahead and just answer a couple of these. I see Romeo said, in a half PPR, do you think Njoku is playing? If I had to guess, I'd say no. Again, it's late in the season. We're in week 16. This team is not looking to try to win any games because really they just want a higher pick to get a quarterback next season. I would assume that they're not going to pressure him to play. If he feels like he is available and he can play without potential re-aggravation and or worsening said hamstring injury, then sure. But at this point, if I was going to venture to say, I'd say that he probably doesn't play. Now, as for your alternative options, you have Kraft, Henry, Freiermuth, and Ertz. I know that Zach Ertz, based on the injury report that I saw earlier today, he's been limited in the last 2 days. Now, as to whether he clears concussion protocol, we'll know by probably tomorrow afternoon. Otherwise, they'll designate him out. After he clears concussion protocol, I would still prefer out of those available options. You know what? Yeah, I'd be very comfortable going with Zach Ertz there, assuming he clears concussion protocol. Otherwise, Romeo, your next best option will be going with Freiermuth there. Thank you. We have Daniel Barnes sends in a question, says in a full PPR, thank you, Daniel, says, for depth next week, add Spears, Patrick Taylor, or Kendre Miller. My running backs are Achane, Connor, and Garendo. Okay, so here's the thing. I would say for the purposes of depth, Patrick Taylor is probably your best add because we don't know 100% that Tony Pollard is not going to play. Did he practice this week? Absolutely not. But it does not mean that he is going to, he could still be active by Sunday morning. You never know. Right, which obviously could definitely hurt many of our fantasy teams, or on the completely opposite end, if you have Tony Pollard, it could save our fantasy teams this weekend. But in this circumstance, I think Patrick Taylor is your best depth play because you have Garendo. Therefore, next week, if Garendo was to miss again, you'd still have Patrick Taylor available to you. Now, in this circumstance, if they came out and said, yeah, Tony Pollard's not only going to miss this week, but next week, then, we'd automatically just go after Spears. But considering the lack of information within that circumstance, I think Patrick Taylor is your answer, number one. I'd probably go with Kendre 2 because I know that Alvin Kamara is probably not going to play for the remainder of the year, and then I'd go with Spears 3 for depth purposes. Thank you. All right, after that question, we had one from Raul, who says, in a full PPR, I need 2 running backs and 1 flex. We have Kendre Miller, Jalen Warren, Patrick Taylor Jr., Christian Watson, Hunter Henry. Okay, so of those available options, 2 running backs, 1 flex. The 2 running backs that I would suggest you play are Kendre Miller and Patrick Taylor. Within the flex position in a full PPR, I'd probably lean in the direction, it depends, man. Christian Watson's very sketchy of a play. But I'd venture to say that so is Jalen Warren to an extent. I think Jalen Warren in a full PPR on a safe week is like 10 fantasy points. Can Christian Watson get himself his 5 catches, 50 yards, or 4 catches, 60? I think this upcoming week against New Orleans, I think it's very much so capable, potential, but it becomes very sketchy. As of right now, if it was my team, though, I would go with Kendre, Patrick Taylor, and I would go with Christian Watson because he does provide, even though he may have a little bit less of a baseline floor, he provides so much more upside, in my opinion, that I think he is the better play. And then your next question here, Raul, was defenses for this week: Colts, Steelers, Lions, Rams, Jaguars. Okay, so as it currently stands, the preferred of the bunch that you mentioned will be the Lions defense taking on the Chicago Bears. The second best defense out of that group will be the Colts, and then the rest is just kind of a toss-up at that point. Thank you. All right, let's see here. We had a question that came in from Bruce Cowdrey. Bruce, thank you very much, sir. This is in a full PPR. Let's see here. You're the best bet for a cheap flex in a... Okay, so let's see here. Full PPR, you have Coker, Patrick or Abdullah or Spears? Thanks. Yeah, as of right now, in a full PPR, assuming Pollard doesn't play, Spears would 100% be the answer. In the event in which Pollard plays, your pivot is Patrick, which is Patrick Taylor Jr. And then worst case scenario, that's just how you would go about it. I'm not even going to broach the conversation of Jalen Coker. He's been limited the last 2 days of practice. We know that Xavier Legette is out. Honestly, I think Coker being limited and Xavier Legette being out only helps Adam Thielen be a absolute must start at a top 24 capacity at wide receiver. As for Abdullah, again, they're taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars. The utilization within the receiving game will certainly be there within the backfield, but I don't think it's going to be as present as the potential upside of what Alexander Mattison will provide. So Spears and Patrick are your 1-2 combo, assuming Spears, of course, has Tony Pollard out this week. Thank you. We Buy Home sends in a question, says questions in the chat. Thank you very much. Let's see if I can find it in the live chat really quickly. Thank you. For those of you who are joining us on this wonderful Sunday night, hope you guys are doing well. If you guys haven't yet already, do me a favor, click the like button down below. It is greatly appreciated. Thank you. All right, We Buy Home says, in a non-PPR, start 2 wide receivers, 1 flex, and 2 running backs. My wide receivers consist of JJ, London, Shakir, Smitty, or Reed. Okay, so of those available options, as of right now, my 2 highest ranked in a non-PPR scoring format, as it currently stands, would be London and Smitty. No, scratch that. JJ and Smitty, my apologies. As for the 2 running backs I would play, your running backs are Hall, White, Pollard, Spears, and Ford. Of the available, I'm playing Hall alongside of either Pollard or Spears. If Pollard is playing, he's in my lineup. If he's not playing, then I'll take Spears and I'll play him instead, alongside of Hall. Within the flex position in a non-PPR league, I'd probably go with Rachaad White. So I go like JJ, Smitty, Hall, Pollard, Spears, whichever one of the 2, and then White. Thank you. Moving on to a question that comes in from Richard Oliveira, who says, in a full PPR, Hawkinson, Strange, Kincaid, and Njoku. Yeah, as it currently stands, as we get closer to Sunday, without really a clear understanding as to what exactly the Njoku injury entails and whether his status is going to be determined on Sunday morning or not, or how, even if there's a possibility for re-injury, it's probably just in your best interest to lean towards Strange. Again, I think Kincaid and Strange could be a toss-up between the 2 of them. Hawkinson's dealing with heavy weather, and Njoku's dealing with an injury. Strange and Kincaid, I know they've most recently both just appeared on the scene at the tight end position just this most recent week because, of course, Kincaid had been out with his injury since week 10, and Strange obviously was not in the mix because of Evan Ingram, who recently just went on the IR. But yeah, those 2 are probably your best options in a full PPR as it currently stands. As to which are the 2 I prefer, as of right now, I'm leaning towards Strange. Thank you. Again, mainly because they take on the Vegas Raiders, the second best matchup at the tight end position. Thank you. Bob French sends in a question. Bob, thank you very much. Says, in a full PPR, we have Brenton Strange or Patrick Taylor. Let me see where I had them ranked on Thursday. Again, one of the primary reasons I didn't have a episode earlier today in regards to hidden gems is because I've been working on rankings almost the entire day, kind of slowly but surely chipping away at the half PPR, and then I'm going to change the overall. So basically, I've been working on half PPR, putting in all the injury information, all the weather information, all that kind of jazz that goes into the whole mix. And then I will change it to the full PPR so that the projection that I spit out of my overall equation will give me the full PPR answer. Haven't gotten there yet. Again, I'm preparing that specifically for tomorrow morning's live stream that starts at 8 a.m. Typically, again, we don't have an early morning live stream on Saturday. It's typically an afternoon live stream. So there's a little bit of variable time there that I'm trying to, catch up on, which usually, I'm able to do on Saturday night rather than a Friday night. But hey, the timeline moves. In regards to where I have Strange in comparison to Patrick Taylor in a full PPR, I have Strange ahead of him in a full PPR scoring format. But I'm going to assume that as I get to that's Thursday ranking, by the way. I'm going to assume when I get to rank, I don't know what I want to do with these guys. We'll see. I would say check back in with me tomorrow. I think Patrick Taylor will probably be higher by tomorrow morning, if I had to guess. But there's a possibility it stays the same. As it currently stands, Brenton Strange is one, as of Thursday's rankings, Brenton Strange was 1 spot ahead of Patrick Taylor in a full PPR. In terms of my flex, they were number 58 and 59. I think Patrick Taylor will probably overtake him going into this weekend. Thank you. All right, let's see here. We had a question that comes in from Richard Oliveira as a follow-up. Says, in a full PPR flex, Worthy, Strange, MVS, Marvin Harrison Jr. Of those available, Okay, MVS, I'm pretty sure is not going to play this weekend, or maybe a little bit hobbled. I think he had himself a DNP earlier today, or a limited practice, which is not a good sign for a Friday after a full practice on Thursday. So I think he re-aggravated something, or definitely got hurt at practice. Of those available options in a full PPR, I think the best option legitimately is Brenton Strange. Thank you. Vino Sino sends in a question, says in a full PPR, DK with possible rain or Hollywood/Coker. As of right now, I'd lean towards Jalen Coker as of those available options. Thank you. Joe Wilson sends in a question, says 8-man, half PPR, 1 flex in finals, need a start/sit help for wide receiver, running back, flex, and defense. My wide receivers consist of Chase, DJ Moore, Jacoby Myers, Jennings, Keenan Allen. Okay. So in an 8-man league, you got a lot of studs here. The best available wide receivers you have are Jamar Chase, DJ Moore. That's the 1-2 combo. As for your running backs, you have Gibbs, Cook, Robinson Jr., Kendre Miller. Yeah, Gibbs and Cook are your 1-2. As for your flex, I would suggest that being it's either Jacoby Myers or Jawan Jennings. As it currently stands, I'd probably lean towards Jawan Jennings. So I'd go with Chase, DJ Moore, Jennings, Gibbs, Cook. As for your defense, what do you have available? Arizona Colts, Bills. Give me the Bills defense there. Thank you, Joe Wilson. Appreciate it. All right, let's see here. Nicola, 24, sends in a question. Says in a full PPR, pick 3 between Kendre Miller, Hawkinson, Swift, Patrick Taylor, Ford, and Tracy. Cool. In a full PPR, I'd play Swift, Patrick Taylor, and Tyrone Tracy. Those are the 3 that I would prefer. Thank you. Coach sends in a question. Says in a full PPR, I need one wide receiver to start and 2 flexes from Marvin Harrison Jr., Judy, McMillan, Kelsey, Patrick Taylor, Tracy, Kendre, or Ford. Oh man. Okay. In a full PPR, gets a little bit tricky here. As of those available options, I probably end up, okay, so do I want to play all 3 wide receivers? Judy's the sketchy part here. That's the issue with Judy. I don't know what his capabilities are with a backup quarterback, or I can assume what his capabilities are, but even in a full PPR, it's not that detrimental considering he'll still be the number 1 receiving option. Cedric Tillman's still in that concussion protocol. Of those available options you have there, Coach, I'd probably go with like Judy, Kelsey. Yeah, I'd probably go Judy, Kelsey, Marv. Those are the 3 that I roll with there, Coach. Thank you. Reversal FN sends in a question. Reversal, let me see if you have typed in the chat. Reversal, I don't see a question from you in the live chat. I do now. Never mind. Says, hey, I'm in a deep league. Need to know who to start. Okay, let's see here. I have Saquon, Mixon, Chase, and Achane. So who do I start? Okay, so you're going to have to recalibrate that question. How many of each position are you asking about? Because if I'm ranking these players, I don't even know what your scoring format is, Reversal. So you're going to have to re-rack the whole question and retype it into the live chat. Scoring format, how many players are we talking? Can start out of the 4. And yeah, that's the 2 things that I need. And I'm more than happy to help. Thank you. Until then, we continue on with a question that comes in from It's Okay to Laugh, who says, I hate to set my lineup questions, but I hate the set my lineup questions, but I have no idea what to do. 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs, and a flex. Full PPR. Cup, McLaurin, London, JSN, JT, Bucky, Chase Brown, Hall, McBride, Bowers. Okay. So I just want to confirm it's okay to laugh. Is McBride and Bowers in a completely different, because you said 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs, and a flex. Is there a tight end position as well? Is there an individual tight end position? If so, let me know in the live chat so that I have context regarding that. Again, many of you not sending in the full context, so I have to get all the details. Otherwise, I might answer your question just objectively wrong because I don't know if you do have a starting tight end there. If there is a starting tight end, then it changes everything rather than me having to suggest that you flex McBride over an alternative option. You know what I mean? Thank you. So let me know in the live chat how many positions are, or is there an individual tight end position? Yes or no? Thank you. All right. Until then, did FN Reversal FN, did you end up typing anything in the chat? Reversal says pick 3. All right, cool, Reversal. Thank you. So of those available options that you have, Mixon, Saquon, Chase, Achane, what's your format though? Okay, I think regardless of scoring format, the way that I go about it, Saquon, Chase, and Achane, those are the 3 that I prefer to play. I'm sitting Mixon this week. Thank you. Alrighty, let's see here. We took care of that. We'll wait until it's okay to laugh to let me know that in a minute. Until we get there, we have Dave Martinez who sends in a question. Dave, thank you very much. Says, I screwed up my super chat. Bought after I sent. No, you're good, man. What's your original question? Let me find it. It says standard league. Hunter Henry or Strange. I'd prefer to play Strange there. Says also flex Kenneth Walker, Charbonnet, Pacheco, or Spears. Out of those available options, I'm playing Kenneth Walker. Love your work, man. Amazing work ethic and dedication. Thank you very much, Dave. I greatly appreciate those kind words. Thank you. Okay, you're good to go there. If you had any other questions, let me know. All right, so we'll continue on after Dave Martinez's question that was rolled in. We had Matthew Mag, who says, defense, Colts or Buccaneers. Between the two of them, I have the Colts ranked higher. And PPR pick 2, Kupp, Miller, Keenan Allen. Give me Kupp and give me Keenan Allen. I'm benching Miller there. Thank you. All right, let's see. Bums playing sends in a question. Says Devontae Smith or Jalen McMillan? Give me Devontae Smith there. Thank you. Again, the last 2 days, A.J. Brown has been dealing with a injury of sorts. Limited both Thursday and Friday. They could open up even more opportunity for Devontae Smith to get in the mix and get himself a very similar target opportunity share as he saw last week, which would obviously be incredible for many of us. Carlos M sends in a question. Carlos, thank you very much, sir. Let me see if I can find your question in the live chat right now. All right, he says, hello, sir. Strange or Muth? I prefer to play Strange, regardless of format. DJ Moore or Terry? I'd prefer to play DJ Moore. Sanders or McManus? I'd prefer to play Sanders. And or any other kicker recommendations. As of right now, my kickers that I would recommend, as it currently stands, like I have Fairbairn, Jake Bates, Chris Boswell, Tyler Bass, Brandon Aubrey, Chase McLaughlin, Jason Sanders, Harrison Butker, Jake Moody, Zane Gonzalez, Brandon McManus, Chad Ryland, Josh Riccardi. I mean, again, that would be the order of the top 13, technically. Excluding, of course, Will Lutz and, of course, Cameron Dicker, who played yesterday. Thank you. So that's the way I go about it. I think Sanders is a great play. Unless, of course, you have somebody like, Guy Fairbairn sitting there waiting, which I doubt to be the case. All right, let's see here. It's okay to laugh. Let's see what you said. You said, yes, tight end position. All right, cool. Thank you very much. So 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs, 1 tight end, 1 flex. The tight end that I'm suggesting that you play is McBride. As for the wide receivers that I suggest, you have Kupp, McLaurin, London, JSN. I'm going to play Kupp and I'm going to play McLaurin. As for your running backs, you have JT, Bucky, Chase Brown, Hall. I'm playing JT and Chase Brown. I'm flexing Hall. No, I'm not flexing Hall. I think I'm flexing Bowers. Oh, man. Yeah, I'm flexing Bowers. That's the way I go about it. So the actual starting lineup, it's okay to laugh, would be Kupp, McLaurin, JT, Chase Brown, McBride, and Bowers. I'm playing both the tight ends there. Thank you. Alrighty, we continue on. We had a question that came in from Pierre as a follow-up. Says, in a non-PPR, DJ Moore or Thielen? In a non-PPR, I'd prefer to play DJ Moore there. Also, Kraft or Strange? I'd prefer to play Strange. Thank you. Richard Oliveira sends in a follow-up. Says, pick one plus flex. Okay. Mixon, Cook, Adams, Judy, Ford. Out of those available options, I'm probably leaning towards Cook and Adams as my starters. Thank you. Catacomb Kid sends in a question. Catacomb, thank you very much. Let me see if I can find your question in the live chat. Catacomb says, all right, set my lineup in a half PPR. We have Josh Allen, McLaurin, Amon-Ra, Bucky, Rashad White, Njoku, Kendre Miller, Fairbairn, Atlanta, Colts, Hunter Henry, McMillan, Tracy, Etienne. Cool. So you got pretty solid options here. Obviously, you know that you're starting Josh Allen. As for your starting wide receivers, Amon-Ra is the best. McLaurin will be the second. As for your starting running backs, I would suggest that you play both of the Tampa Bay running backs in order to ensure that you get all of the entire workload trapped within your lineup so that you're not leaving anybody on the bench. Let's say, for example, you were to play Bucky and bench Rashad White. I'd be deathly afraid that Rashad White steals a touchdown like he did last week and then benefits from that on your bench. So if I was in your position, considering I have them both higher ranked than your alternatives as well, Kendre, Tracy, Etienne, I would suggest playing Bucky and Rashad White as your 1-2 combo there. As for Njoku and Hunter Henry, here's the situation that you have to deal with. Hunter Henry doesn't play until tomorrow afternoon, so you'll know, actually, you're in a perfect position. So tomorrow morning, if Njoku is healthy, I'd play him. When I say healthy, as in, he's suiting up. He's got his helmet strapped and he's ready to go. In the case in which he's active tomorrow, he would play in my lineup. Again, if the decision is made for you and he is inactive, then you would wait until the afternoon and you plug in Hunter Henry, who takes on the Bills, which I don't think is that big of a downgrade in that circumstance. As for your defense, Atlanta or Colts, currently I have Atlanta ranked higher. Fairbairn's a great kicker. And within your flex position of your available options here, I'm probably leaning in the direction of ETN. Thank you. Alrighty, we took care of Catacomb Kid. Thank you very much. All right, Abdullah sends in a question. Says, do I play Strange over Kincaid already? Playing BTJ. So I could justify the idea of not trying to stack up 2 players within a singular team such as the Jaguars, I can understand that. So if you want to avoid too much investment on Mac Jones, I'm okay with the potential pivot of playing Kincaid. Again, like I mentioned earlier, I have Kincaid and Strange back-to-back in my rankings. Their projection based on Thursday was almost identical, to the extent to where I don't mind playing Kincaid over Strange this week. So if you want to go in that direction, it does not bother me. If you're trying to avoid having too much investment within the Jaguars offense, which I don't think is a terrible idea in your circumstance. Thank you. All right, we had a question from Chico Man 831 who says pick 2 in a non-PPR. Keenan Allen, Madison, Shakir, Pacheco. In a non-PPR, geez, this is interesting. Typically in a non-PPR, I lean in the direction of running backs. So in this circumstance, I probably end up playing Madison. Do I play? I don't want to play Pacheco, man. I don't feel like messing around with that. It would probably be like a Madison and Shakir play as of this week, Chico, man. Thank you. We had a question that comes in from Crispy Chris. Crispy, thank you very much. Let me see if I can find your question in the live chat here really quickly, because it wasn't attached originally. It says, JSN or Garrett Wilson? Considering the rain, I'd rather play Garrett Wilson. It says, I need a win and go to the championship. Yeah, as of right now, if I'm not mistaken, the Rams play on the early Sunday morning slate. Yeah, they play at 10 a.m. on Sunday morning, so you're not going to know what the weather identically looks like come that afternoon game against the Minnesota Vikings. So as it currently stands, considering, again, there is an expectation of 90% chance of rain and heavy rains at that, I would lean in the direction of just playing Garrett Wilson. Thank you. We had a question that came in from John D, who says, in a full PPR, start 1 between Hopkins, Bateman, and Amari Cooper. So the issue that I have with Bateman is that, if I'm not mistaken, earlier today, he did not practice. Let me just confirm this really quickly. Or it was Thursday that he did not practice, if I'm not mistaken. Let me just, if I go to Baltimore Ravens, yeah, he did not practice Thursday, which is not a good sign. And it wasn't a personal issue or was not considered as quote-unquote rest. I don't know what it is. There's a possibility that Bateman may be injured. And if that's the case, I'd probably just rather play D-Hop tomorrow morning. So for right now, I'm going to lean towards D-Hop over Bateman and Amari Cooper. As for your next question, Love or Darnold, considering the weather, I'd play Love there. And then as for your final question, Minnesota's defense or the Colts, as of right now, where do I have Minnesota comparatively? I have Minnesota one spot ahead of the Colts. So I will take Minnesota's defense there against the Seattle Seahawks on Sunday afternoon. Thank you. Alrighty, we took care of that question. We move on to the next one, who comes in from Cortez G. Cortez, thank you very much. It says, in a 10-team full PPR, start London or Garrett Wilson. As of right now, I've gone back and forth on that for quite a bit. In a half PPR, let's see, where do I have it currently structured as? I was messing around with it before the live stream began. As it currently is structured, I have Drake London ahead of Garrett Wilson. So that's the direction I'm going to suggest you go in. Thank you. It says, Bucky or Ford? I'd rather play Bucky. Thank you. Jonathan sends in a question, says, in a half PPR, play Bucky or Kenneth Walker? I'd prefer to play Kenneth Walker there. Next question, flex London or Jennings? I'd prefer to play Jennings. Thank you. Jonathan, appreciate it. Moose sends in a question. Moose, thank you very much. Let's see if I can find your question in the live chat. It says, in a full PPR, in the semifinals, going against the number 1 team, Baker or Jalen Hurts as my quarterback. I prefer to play Jalen Hurts there. Also, Pollard or Harris as RB. Under the assumption that Pollard is active, you would play him. If he's not active, because again, he has not practiced all week long, you would, obviously, the decision would be made for you in this circumstance, and you would play Harris. Your next question was Otten, Pitts, Freiermuth, or Gray at tight end. Otten is doubtful to play. He's injured. He's not going to play this week. So expect for Jalen McMillan to be a little bit more of an upside play within the upcoming week as well, in the absence of Cade Otten. Now, as for your other options, I would prefer to play Freiermuth over the bunch. Thank you. And this says, last question, Thielen, Harris, or Downs as my flex. I play Thielen there. Thank you very much, especially in a full PPR. Very confident in that play. It's okay to laugh has a follow-up question. Says, yes, it's a tight end position. Can I really flex both McBride and Bowers? Follow-up for the previous super chat. I think, yeah, absolutely. The way that I currently have it ranked, I would prefer to play both of them in a full PPR over what you availably have, which, again, it's pretty much going to be between, do I play Bowers or do I play Breece Hall? And it's purely that is going to be the breakdown. And considering Aiden O'Connell is going to be starting for the Las Vegas Raiders going up against the Jacksonville Jaguars, I would love to play Brock Bowers in this situation. Thank you. Let's see here. Boinger sends in a question. Let's see if I can find you in the live chat. Says, in a half PPR, flex 2, Pollard, Marv, Kendre, Tajay. Worried about possible split if both Pollard and Tajay play. Yeah, you wouldn't be wrong. But in the event in which they do both play, if we have to flex 2, I mean, honestly, if you're worried about it, you play them both. That's what you would do. Because I think the Colts matchup is one that is relatively favorable, especially with Mason Rudolph playing instead of Will Levis. So in this scenario, if they are both active, as in Pollard specifically, if he's active, then you play both Pollard and Tyjae Spears just to ensure that you have everything contained within the backfield. Just in the same way in which we do with Bucky Irving and Rachaad White, just in the same way in which we've done in the past for people who have, Gibbs and Montgomery on the same lineup. So that's how you'd go about it. Now, if Pollard was inactive, you would pair up Tyjae Spears with Marvin Harrison. Thank you. All right, continuing on, we have the next question that comes in from Daddy, who says, in a full PPR, A.J. Brown, BTJ, or Bucky Irving, need a one wide receiver, one flex. I'd play both wide receivers. Give me A.J. Brown and BTJ there. Thank you. Anthony Martinez says, typed in my question into the chat. Okay, Anthony, thank you. Anthony Martinez says, in a full PPR, I need a tight end and a flex. We have Breece Hall, Zay Flowers, Romeo Doubs, Strange, Freiermuth, Kincaid. Cool. I'm playing Breece Hall as your flex. I'm playing Brenton Strange as your tight end. Thank you. Alrighty, we took care of that one. We move on to GLVZ, who says, if Njoku is out, pick one between wide receiver / flex Madison, Downs, D-Hop. Okay, if we're playing a wide receiver and a flex there, I would play D-Hop alongside of Madison. Next question, if he plays two tight ends, Andrews, who, two tight ends, interesting. If he plays, do I play two tight ends? No, I wouldn't. So, okay, so GLVS, the way that I'd go about this, in the event in which Njoku plays, I'd play Njoku as your tight end. I'd bench Mark Andrews, and I'd still play DeAndre Hopkins alongside of Alexander Madison as your wide receiver flex duo. And then it says, who's wide receiver 2, D-Hop or Downs? D-Hop would be the preferred one. And then it says wide receiver / running back, Alexander Madison, wide receiver, Downs and D-Hop. Yeah, so as of right now, the way that I currently have it structured is if Njoku plays at tight end, and he's good to go. If he's inactive, then Mark Andrews sits there. In the event in which, again, that is how it's structured, you would go with D-Hop and Madison as your wide receiver flex. Thank you. Kareem sends in a question. Says, start one in a PPR. We have Kendre Miller, Patrick Taylor, Rico Dowdle, and Devontae Smith. Of those available, Rico Dowdle is in my starting lineup. Thank you. Ibrahim sends in a question. Says, PPR, I bench one. We have A.J. Brown, Kupp, Jennings, Henry, and Kyron. Of those available in a full PPR, I'm probably benching Jennings, and I play the rest. As for the next question, it says pick one, Hawkinson or Njoku. I play Njoku if he's active. If he's not if he's not active, then the decision is made for you. Thank you. All right, we continue on with a question that comes in from Julian, who says, in a half PPR, Tyjae Spears or Pacheco? Under the assumption that Pollard is inactive, I would be... Well, look, here's the issue. You don't know whether that's going to be the case. So considering your situation, I would tell you not to play Pacheco tomorrow. Let's push it and let's try to play Tyjae regardless of situation on Sunday. Thank you. Next question, Strange if Pollard plays. Would I pivot to Strange if Pollard plays? In a half PPR, probably... No, I wouldn't. Regardless of what you do, I think you should probably just stick with Tyjae Spears there. Thank you. Harmon Singh sends in a question. Says, in a full PPR, I need one running back and one flex. We have Ford, Tracy, Spears, Miller, Pacheco, Mooney, Downs, and McMillan. Of those available, again, I would like to play Spears as your running back in the event in which, of course, we have an inactive, in the event in which we have an inactive Pollard, you're good to go. Set. In the event in which Pollard is active, I'd be willing to pivot to probably playing Tracy there in the full PPR. As for your flex, I think it's McMillan. Thank you. Christian Miller sends in a question, says, let's go. Championship finals. Appreciate everything you do. This is for all the marbles, Lamar Jackson or Baker Mayfield. Give me Lamar there. Again, he's gotten you to this point. I think you have to keep with it. Also, Hopkins or Thielen, I'd prefer to play Thielen. Thank you. Chumbo sends in a question, says full PPR, flex Thielen, Patrick Taylor, or if Pollard ends up being out, Spears. In the event in which Pollard is out, I'd play Spears above the bunch. Otherwise, I'm playing Thielen there in the flex. Thank you. Phil, 1776 sends in a question. Thank you, Phil. Says not ideal, but Justice Hill or Craig Reynolds. I'd prefer to play Justice Hill considering you're playing in a full PPR scoring format there. Thank you. Alrighty, we have a question from Coach as a follow-up. Says Superflex full PPR. I need two quarterbacks. Jaden Daniels, Kyler, Penix. I'll play Jaden Daniels and Kyler. Excuse me. Penix is the odd man out. Penix is going to be ranked in Sunday morning, how we typically do for 3 hours when I live stream from 7 to 10 a.m. I have rankings on screen. Penix will be ranked, but he will not be close to where Kyler and or Jaden Daniels will be currently present. As for your next question, it says then rank Dowdle, Jennings, Marvin Harrison, Kenneth Walker, Spears without Pollard. Thank you. Okay, so of those available, under the assumption that we're playing in a full PPR And that is the current construction of how we want to go about this. I'm going to go from lowest to highest. So the lowest ranked player of the bunch would then be Marvin Harrison. The second lowest would then be, I'd go Marvin Harrison. I'd go Kenneth Walker. Then I go Spears, Jennings, Dowdle. Thank you. All right, let's see here. We took care of that. We're good to go. Continuing on. All right. Woes Up, though, sends in a question. Says, set my lineup. Hurts or JD5. I prefer to play Jalen Hurts. Was that Brian Robinson, Kenneth Walker, Tracy, Kendre Miller, Madison? Give me Brian Robinson and Kenneth Walker. Good to go. 1-2 combo. I'm Amon-Ra, DJ Moore, Devontae. We have Devontae Smith, Flowers. Yeah, your starting wide receivers will be Amon-Ra, St. Brown, and DJ Moore. If we need one flex of the available options, I would play Devontae Smith there. As for your defense, Green Bay or Minnesota, I'd play Green Bay. Thank you. All right, we had a question that came in from, I think it was Prohibit, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Prohibit sends in a question. Says, standard scoring, 2 wide receivers, 2 running back, 1 flex. We have BTR, Brian Thomas Jr. Nope, Brian. Who the heck is BTR? You mean BTJ? Am I crazy? All right, you have BTR. I don't know who that is. Unless I'm completely pulling a brain fart. Higgins, Neighbors as my wide receivers. Yeah, I'm assuming that's BTJ. Anyway, is R next to J on the keyboard? Not really. Okay, anyway. So you have those 3 options. If we were going to start 2 of them, as of this week in a standard scoring format, 0 points per reception, I'm playing BTJ and Higgins as my 2 starting wide receivers. As for your running backs, you have Miller, Hall, Patrick Taylor, ETN. Of those available, under the assumption that it's a standard scoring league, 0 points per reception, Hall plays alongside of Patrick Taylor. As for your flex, I'm going to play Neighbors there. So I'm playing all 3 wide receivers, and I'm playing Hall alongside of Patrick Taylor. That's the way that I'd go about it. Thank you. All right, we had a question from Perk Nowitsky, 41, who says, best flex option in a half PPR. We have Swift, Pacheco, Patrick Taylor, Thielen, Judy, JMO. I think the best option in the bunch, to be totally honest, is either Patrick Taylor or Thielen. Considering the way that this offense is trending for the Carolina Panthers, I'd legitimately play Adam Thielen this weekend. Thank you. Steve Mall sends in a question, says, PPR, pick 1. Patrick Taylor or Dowdle? I prefer to play Dowdle. I have Lamb starting in a half PPR. Pick 2 between Patrick Taylor, Dowdle, and Kupp. Give me Dowdle and Kupp there. Also, Lamb starting. Yeah, you're good to go. Starting 2, Dallas Cowboys is not an issue. They're both going to be in a pretty good position to succeed this week. Thank you. Jordan Green sends in a question. Says, I have the Steelers defense for this week. The defenses on the wire are the Seahawks, Raiders, Lions. Cool. Pick up the Lions and start them. Standard league, no PPR. Should I drop my worst player from my defense this week, which would be Craig Reynolds? Yeah, I would. Absolutely. I would make that swap immediately. Thank you. Okay. Let's see here. So somebody said that I skipped questions up above. Let me go and find them. Let's see here. What did I miss? Oh, I missed like a handful of questions. What happened here? Did they not load in? Because when I scrolled down originally, yeah, I see that I missed a couple questions, Rogo. Thank you for letting me know. When I rolled down originally, I did not see any of these. Okay, let me write these down. Criminal Minds. Rogo. Tex Raider had a follow-up. And Sam. Sorry about that, guys. Okay, so let's see here. Criminal Minds, he said, check comments, start us a question, calls, I'm pondering. Okay, Criminal Minds, are you in this live chat? I'm going to assume that you might be. He might not be. Yeah, because the only time Criminal Minds is being said in the live chat is by you, Rogo, which you're typing it out, and I don't see him in here. Sorry, send multiple times. Chat doesn't clear. Yeah, you're good to go, man. If you can, Criminal Minds, you're still here. My apologies again. Do me a favor and type it in the chat again. That'd be greatly appreciated so I can get to that question. Tex Raider said, much appreciation answering the paragraph of question. No, you're good to go. Thank you, Tex Raider. Appreciate it. Sam, if you're also here, do me a favor, type in your question. I completely missed that. Rogo, I'll get to yours in just a moment. So where's Sam at? Anything from Sam? I guess I'll just wait for Sam, I guess, at this point. Okay, Rogo, what do we have here? Your question was, yo, what's up? Bro, forgot to start Sutton, SMH. LOL, who should I start now? 2 wide receivers, 1 flex in a half PPR. We have Higgins, Devontae Smith, Jennings, Debo. I mean, I'm glad that you didn't start Sutton at this point because Higgins has to play. And at this point, if I'm pivoting to the next best option, I'd go with Jennings. Those would be the two. Your running backs are Gibbs/Swift. Thanks. So the two wide receivers are Higgins and Jennings. As for your flex option for this week, out of those available, I'm probably going to play Devontae Smith. So Higgins, Smith, and Jennings are my suggestion, Rogo. Thank you. And I appreciate you obviously keeping up with me, making sure that I didn't skip any questions. Thank you again for that. Rogo's always in here doing me, solid favors that I don't deserve. But thank you, Rogo. All right, let's see here. Did Sam end up showing back up in this chat? I'm going to assume that Sam disappeared after I skipped this question, and that's probably the case. That's my bad, Sam. I'm going to assume that Criminal Minds also is probably lost in the mix. Criminal Minds, yeah, nowhere. Okay, well, we'll wait. We'll see if they come back around. Either way, continue to answer questions. My apologies. All right, so after that couple question streak, we had a question from another Andrew in the chat. Andrew says, half PPR. Who do I play at tight end and flex for 3 wide receiver set? We have Mike Evans, Garrett Wilson, T. Higgins, Addison. Running backs are White, Barkley, Kenneth Walker. We have tight end Strange, Kraft, and Hawkinson. Cool. So, I mean, look, as of the way I would go about it, if you're starting Mike Evans and T. Higgins as your 1-2 combo wide receiver, Rashad White actually, you go Evans, T. Higgins as your wide receivers, Barkley, Kenneth Walker as your running backs. You would play Strange as your tight end, and you would flex, most likely in a full PPR, Garrett Wilson, and a half PPR, Rashad White. Thank you. After that question, we had Phil, 1776, who sent in another question. Phil, 1776. Let's see. Did you have a follow-up, Phil? He says, not ideal. Strange or Kincaid full PPR? Yeah, I prefer to play Strange as of this week. Thank you. All right, we took care of Phil's question. Chief sends in a question, says in a half PPR, flex 1, A.J. Brown, shadowed by Lattimore, Neighbors, or Patrick Taylor. I'm still playing A.J. Brown there. I'm not too worried about the situation. Again, if you wanted to pivot, the next best option is clearing away Neighbors. But again, as of right now, I'm going to lean towards A.J. Brown there. Ayo sends in a question. Says McMillan or JMO in the flex. I'd rather play McMillan there. Leaning towards McMillan for the matchup. Shepard and Otten injuries. Yeah, I agree. Thank you. You're good to go there, my man. Peyton Whitaker says questions in the chat. Thank you, Peyton. Peyton says, so with Pickens out, okay. Quick lineup for all. It says Marvin Harrison is my wide receiver 2, and in the flex is White. My other options are Calvin Austin, Kraft, or Coker. My RB1 is Madison. Patrick Taylor is my RB2. Leave White in the flex or replace? No, you would leave him in the flex. I would not replace him with Calvin Austin. I'm not too interested in making that swap. You're good to go there. Thank you. Dustin sends in a question, says in a half PPR, I need to flex. Who do I start? Jennings, Swift, Patrick Taylor. Play Jennings there. Thank you. Leroy sends in a question. Thank you very much, sir. Says in a full PPR, both leagues, flex option, Kendre Miller or Patrick Taylor. As of right now, I'd play Patrick Taylor this weekend. Says in my second league, for my RB2, Kenneth Walker, Stevenson, or Patrick Taylor. I play Kenneth Walker there in your second league. Thank you, Leroy. You could have. Did you send me a message on Patreon? You may have already, but if you didn't, you could have just sent it there, my man. Thank you. Ryan Tank sends in a question, says Butker or Fairbairn on Saturday? I'd prefer to play Fairbairn, assuming the weather is not going to be a disaster and I'm not pivoting away from both. But yeah, as of right now, Fairbairn. Thank you. Brian Franklin sends in a question, says half PPR, Andrews or Strange? I'd prefer to play, as of right now, Brett and Strange. Thank you. All right, let's see if Sam sent in a question. Maybe I can find it if he's still in the neighborhood. Nope, nothing from Sam. All right, Criminal Minds. Okay, nothing. All right, well, maybe in the future. They're probably gone. All right, I think I've caught up effectively on almost every question, so I will now hop back into the live chat. I do appreciate you guys being patient with me on this wonderful Friday night. Let's begin. Let's see here. Nick AM says, full PPR, choose one between running back and flex. We have Ford, Patrick Taylor, Kendre Miller, Sharbs, Shakir. I mean, as of right now in a full PPR scoring format, I'm going to go with Patrick Taylor and Shakir as your combo there, Nick AM. Thank you. Bruggs19 says, Tyreek Hill, Neighbors, Cup, pick 2.5 PPR. Tyreek Hill and Neighbors are the two that I'd play. Duncan McDonald says, full PPR, pick 2, JSN, Miller, Spears, ETN. It's probably JSN and a Spears combo. That's probably the two that I'd roll with as of right now. MC says full PPR. I'm starting Brenton Strange over Travis, question mark. When you say Travis, do you mean Travis Kelce? No, I would not start him over Travis Kelce. I started Sutton, and I'm kind of sweating also DJ Moore over Tyreek and Reed. I'd play DJ Moore over Reed, but not over Tyreek. Waddle's not going to play this week. I have James Cook is my flex. Yeah, I mean, look, the rest of your roster is really strong. I don't think you need to get too crazy with it. I'd leave Travis Kelce in on there, and I'd play DJ Moore over Jaden Reed. Thank you. All right, let's see here. T.A. Rugg says Tyreek may not play with the wrist. Yeah, I saw that earlier today. He had a limited practice earlier today. I'd assume that he plays because, I mean, at this point, okay, it's an assumption. I have no 100% concrete evidence as to whether or not he will play. But over the course of the last couple of weeks, while he has had said injury, it hasn't missed any time. So I'm not too worried about it as it currently stands. Thank you. All right, let's see here. Ashley Gomez sends in a question. Says, JMO over Myers or Shakir? No, I prefer to play Myers and or Shakir over Jameson Williams. Thank you. Says also, half PPR, Hurts or Baker? I prefer to play Hurts. Thank you. Tex Raider says, if Kendra Miller is the worst player on bench, is it worth stashing for the best defense in the championship? Dolphins versus the Browns, top option, McMillan and Debo available. Okay, so technically speaking, Saints, if I'm not mistaken, the Saints next week play against they play the Raiders. So theoretically, Kendra Miller could be a value in the Raiders matchup in week 17. But that's if you do not have any other available running backs. Like, he's still going to be in that like lower end RB2 range. If you've got 2 or 3 solid running backs in the top 15 to 20, Kendra Miller, I mean, I'd just drop him at this point because really you're not going to have much of a risk of somebody using him against you, and I'd rather just have that defense on roster prepared for next week. So yeah, I'd be willing to make that move. Again, under the assumption that, you know, someone's not going to pick up Kendra Miller and utilize it against you, which could be a problematic situation in my mind. Potentially, of course. Anthony O sends in a question, says, hey Andrew, in a standard superflex 4-point per passing touchdown, should I flex Geno, Cedric Tillman, Jake Ferguson, Hollywood Brown, Mooney, Calvin Austin, or Mason Rudolph? I'd play Mason Rudolph. Oh, excuse me. Well, you have Geno there, but considering the weather concerns, I'd play Mason Rudolph probably over everyone here. I have no interest in playing any of these options considering it's a super flex league. So it's either Geno or Mason Rudolph as it currently stands. If Geno can have solid weather, let me see. When does the Colts play on Sunday morning? The Colts play, early in the morning. I'm just going to play Rudolph there. And I'd avoid the rain there, Anthony. Thank you. Easy E sends in a question, says full PPR flex, Thielen, Jennings, Addison, Allen, Pollard, Smith. Of those available, I think Jennings is probably number 1, Jonnu's 2, and Thielen's 3. Keenan Allen's 4, Pollard's 5, Addison 6. Thank you. So yeah, you'd probably play Jennings or Jonnu or Thielen, one of the 3, but that's the order which I would have it in the exact Jennings, Jonnu, Thielen role. Thank you. Angel Ruiz says, Laporta or Strange if Njoku can't play. I play Laporta there. Thank you. Chuba Hubbard or Rico Dowdle. I prefer to play Rico Dowdle there, Mario. Let's see here. Friday night with an asterisk. What did I say? Did I say Friday morning? What did I say? I probably said something else. Hawkinson or Mark Andrews, full PPR. I prefer to play Mark Andrews there. Again, I don't want to deal with the weather in Seattle. Bill says stream defense every week. Colts or Bengals. I prefer to play the Bengals this week. Chiefs are on the waivers, leaning towards the Bengals. Yeah, I'd play the Bengals as well. Dorian Thompson-Robinson is not going to be able to pull it. Let's see here. We took care of that. Jocelyn in the chat says, sup, brother? In a full PPR, I need serious help. I lost Garendo. I have Miller, Pacheco, and Warren on roster. Madison, Hill, and Algier on waivers. Okay, cool. So you have pretty decent options available to you, technically. I need 1. If you're going to play 1, I think you play Madison. I'm not even joking. I think that's the way that I'd go about it. I go like Madison 1, Pacheco 2, Miller 3, Warren 4, Hill 5, Algier 6. Thank you. GLVS sends in a follow-up. Says PPR, pick 1 running back, 1 flex. Warren, Miller, McMillan, Bigsby. Of those available in a PPR, I'm playing Miller and I'm playing McMillan. Thank you. Tucker or Bates, says Patrick G. Mafia. Play Bates. Again, Justin Tucker, can we really trust him this season? I think he has demonstrated over the course of the year that he should have been dropped many of weeks ago. If you still have him on roster, again, that's on you. But yeah, for right now, Jake Bates is the better of the 2, in my opinion. You said Sunday night. Haha. Oh, that's my bad, guys. I apologize. Everything's starting to blur. Again, it's week 16. I've been doing this every day for the last if it's week 16, I've done this for the last 20 weeks straight, or 21 weeks straight, every night. So it's been pretty tough. Savage Arrow, what's up? Savage says, hey Andrew, I played McConkey. I need one wide receiver. I don't think he was that terrible. I mean, again, yes, he didn't find the ultimate upside because they didn't look in his direction, but I'll take it rather than, what Jaden Reed and Cooper Kupp did the last couple weeks. Anyway, says I need one wide receiver and 2 running backs, 1 tight end, and 1 flex. Okay. I have McLaurin, DK, Dobbs, Debo, Bijan, Charbonnet, Ford, Laporta, Ertz. Should I flex a wide receiver or running back? I'll tell you right now. So this is the way that I go about it. Your starting wide receiver is McLaurin. Your starting running back, assuming you have 2 of them, would be Bijan alongside of Ford. And then I'm playing Laporta at tight end. And if I'm looking for one singular flex, it's probably Romeo Dobbs. Thank you. All right, let's see here. Trojan 3659 sends in a question. Thank you, Trojan. Says in a PPR, flex Thielen, McMillan, or Jacoby Myers. As of right now, I have Jacoby Myers ranked the highest. Jacoby will be number 1. Thielen will be... Actually, do I have Jacoby? I think in a half PPR, Jacoby's ahead of him. I'd still have him ahead in a full PPR. So yeah, Jacoby number 1, Thielen number 2, McMillan number 3. Thank you. Savage Era says questions in the chat. Happy Christmas. Thank you, Savage. I didn't even see that you sent that in, but it works all the same. Thank you. All right, let's see here. What do we have here? Criminal Minds 06. There we go. It says back bro dropping in chat. All right, thank you very much, Criminal. I apologize for missing that earlier. That is totally on me. All right, Criminal, let's see what you have here. It says okay, so question 1. PPR, I need 2 between Warren, Rome Odunze, Spears, Kendre, Tank, and Hollywood. Of those available, I'm leaning towards playing Spears and Kendre. Those are the 2 that I prefer to play this weekend. As for your next question, it says I'm leaning towards Kendre and Spears. Yeah, so we have the same train of thought, but have strong intuition about Warren/Rome for big games. What factors am I missing? I mean, Rome Odunze, I could see it happening because he did it just a couple weeks ago where he had 2 receiving touchdowns against that defense. Well, who did he play against that he had 2 touchdowns? I'm trying to remember now. God, was it against Rome Odunze? He had 2 receiving touchdowns against San Francisco. Last time out against Detroit, 2 catches for 25. So again, I can understand the idea, but ultimately the 2 primary threats of that offense, even though Rome Odunze technically dropped a touchdown this most recent week, could have had himself an opportunity there. They're trying to get him looks. Again, 100% touchdown dependent. Without a touchdown, you are getting yourself into the mix of a 4 to 6 point player. With a touchdown, you have the potential of 12 to 15 potentially. But again, a lot of variable risk there in comparison to the alternative options that get themselves consistent volume of touches and will get themselves consistent receiving workload out of the backfield because, again, Kendry's filling in for the workload of Alvin Kamara, and Spears could theoretically have the entire backfield to himself. Now, as for Warren, again, I don't like playing running backs against the Baltimore Ravens run-stop defense, so I'll continue with that. Thank you. As for your second question, it says half PPR. I need 2 wide receivers and 2 flex. We have McMillan, Pittman, Worthy, DJ Moore, Thielen, Warren, Kendrick, and Patrick Taylor. Cool. In a half PPR, DJ Moore, Patrick Taylor, Thielen, and probably a situation in which I play McMillan. It's probably safer to go with Kendrick. So the safe play would be like DJ Moore, Patrick Taylor, Kendrick, and Thielen. If you really want to risk it, you take out Kendre Miller and you play McMillan instead. But again, I think there's a little bit too much variable risk there to where it probably is smarter just to go DJ, Taylor, Kendre, Thielen. Says I'm leaning towards DJ, Thielen, Kendre, Pat. Pat? Who's Pat? Oh, Pat Taylor. Okay, got it. Yeah, so basically we have the same train of thought. But I'm drawn to McMillan's touchdown potential, which I am as well. So if I was in your situation, considering we're both thinking it, I'm down to just, sit Kendre Miller and just roll with McMillan instead of him. Thank you. All right, we took care of that. We're good to go. Craig's Lister sends in a question. Since in a half PPR, 1 flex, Thielen, Kendre Miller, or Shakir. Out of those available in a half PPR, as it currently stands, I have Shakir number 1, Thielen 2, and Kendre Miller 3. Thank you. We had a follow-up question that was sent in from Who's Supdo sends in a question. Says, 1 more for you. I have Achane, Connor, Walker, Kendre, Ford, Charbonnet. Okay, so we're starting 2 running backs of that group. Achane and Connor are my 1-2 combo. Moving on to wide receivers, you have A.J. Brown, Hill, Myers, Judy, Reed, and Thielen. Cool. The 2 wide receivers I play are A.J. Brown and Hill. And then if we're starting 3 flex options, I'm flexing Myers, Walker, and Thielen. Thank you. John Koziar sends in a question. Thank you very much, Don. Says in a 12-team PPR, start 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs, and 1 flex. We have running backs Bijan, Achane, Connor. Okay, very interesting. In a PPR, I would... Bijan has to play. I think all three of these guys have to play. I don't care what you have at receiver. Let me see what you have. You have Adams, Higgins, Shakir, Downs. Cool. Yeah. So this is the way I go about it. Adams and Higgins are your wide receivers. Bijan, Achane are your running backs. Connor's your flex. So I'm benching Shakir and Downs. And then your final question was, you scared of Daniels versus Eagles, Tua instead? No, I'm not scared of that at all. I would probably say that I'm probably... out of all people that you could possibly find to be as confident as possible in regards to Jaden Daniels, I'm probably at the top of that list. Perhaps it's stupidity that has led me in this direction, but as it currently stands, I have no concerns regarding Jaden Daniels versus the Eagles. I would not feel more comfortable playing Tua in his stead. Thank you. Eric sends in a question. Eric, thank you very much. Says in a half PPR, Brian Robinson Jr. or Miller. I'd prefer to play Brian Robinson. And then your next question is Aaron Rodgers, Anthony Richardson, Tua Tagovailoa, or Drake May. I'd prefer to play Anthony Richardson there. Thank you. All right, we move on to a question that comes in from Good Luck. Let's see if I can find your question in the chat. Good luck. Says, what's up, Andrew? In a full PPR, I need a wide receiver and a flex. We have Mooney, McMillan, Tyjae Spears, Tracy. Okay. Of those, and it says, I'm in a 10-point projected underdog in the semifinal matchup. Thanks, bro. Okay, so of those available options, I'm leaning towards your wide receiver being McMillan and your flex being Tyjae Spears very comfortably. I think even in the, I think that's the way we have to go about it as of this week. Thank you. National Sports sends in a question. Says PPR, Mixon, Drake London, Rico Dowdle, need two. I'm playing Mixon and I'm playing Rico Dowdle. Thank you. Constantino says, what's up, bro? PPR, I need an RB2 and a flex. We have Rico, Bucky, Kenneth Walker, Marv, Devontae, Kendre. Yeah, I'd play Rico and Kenneth Walker there, Constantino. Thanks, man. Awad says Ridley or Ford in a full PPR. I'll take Ridley there. Let's see here. Hussein says James Cook or Derrick Henry. I prefer to play James Cook. Thank you. TA says talking to somebody else. Never mind. Mario says go with it. Okay. Blue Jacket says full PPR, one running back, one flex. We have Jonathan Taylor. We have Patrick Taylor. We have Kendra Miller, Jacoby Myers. In a full PPR of those available options, Blue Jacket, Jonathan Taylor and Jacoby Myers are my suggestions. Tim Compton says full PPR, pick two. Pacheco, Tracy, Kendre, Patrick Taylor. If I'm playing two in a full PPR scoring format, I'm playing... Patrick Taylor's for sure the number one. Where do I have Tracy and Kendre in a half PPR? Where are my running backs? I'd probably go Tracy, assuming he's 100% healthy. But again, he's been limited all week. We'll have to keep an eye on that. I'd probably go Tracy alongside of Patrick Taylor. That's the way that I'm leaning towards as of right now. Let's see here. Jordan in the chat says Brock Purdy or Russell Wilson. I'd rather play Brock Purdy there. I know that his most recent performances have been really underwhelming, but again, you have to take into account that both those games against Buffalo, against the LA Rams, were in heavy snow or heavy rain, scenarios. Outside of those performances, in the prior 6 games that Brock Purdy has played this season with no weather constraints, he has been averaging over 21 fantasy points per game in a 4-point per passing touchdown league. So I'm very confident in Purdy this weekend in Miami with no weather. All right, let's see here. Joel Garza says, what's up, GOAT? Questions in the chat. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. All right, Garza, let's see what you have. All right, says in a full PPR, I need one running back and one flex. My kicker is Reichard, weather condition. My bench is Rashad White, Tyjae Spears, JSN, Jacoby Myers, Jaden Reed, and Josh Downs. For kicker, as far as kickers, should I go pick up somebody else? Yes, I would. Again, I'm going to go ahead and reiterate the kickers that I have ranked within my top 12 as it currently stands. If any of these are available, swap them out for Reichard. Fairbairn, Bates, Boswell, Bass, a lot of B's, Aubrey, McLaughlin, Sanders, Butker, Moody, Gonzalez, McManus, Ryland. If any of those are available, make the swap. Because again, the weather in Seattle is going to be pretty nasty. Now, as for your running back and flex combo, under the assumption that Tyjae Spears has no Tony Pollard, he would be your RB1. If, in fact, Tony Pollard is active, then at that point, you would play Rashad White as your RB1. Then, additionally, within your flex position, you are playing Jacoby Myers over everybody. Thank you. Alrighty, we took care of that. Edison says Ford or K9. I'd play K9 this week. Komodo says start 2 running backs. Breece, Pollard, or Spears, or Patrick Taylor. Breece Hall has to play, and it would be your decision will probably be made for you based on Pollard's status. If Pollard is inactive, you play Spears. If he's active, you probably just roll with Pollard there alongside of Breece. Thank you. All right, the Beam says Devontae Smith or McLaurin. and Spears, Rashad White, or play Mixon. As of right now, I'm playing Mixon there. Am I playing Devontae Smith over McLaurin? Probably not. So I'd probably go with McLaurin Mixon there. John Pope says start 3. PPR, Mixon, Chuba, Bucky, Aaron Jones. Bucky's the odd man out. Everybody else plays. E111 says non-PPR, pick 2. Tyreek, London, Neighbors. I'll take Tyreek and Neighbors there. Thank you. Let's see here. Chase sends in a question. Thank you very much, Chase. Says start 2 in a PPR. Dowdle, Brees, Cup, Hawkins. Okay, so first question, first and foremost. Dowdle, Brees, and Cup in a full PPR gets a little bit tricky, but as of right now, I prefer to play Dowdle and Cup. As for your next question, Hawkinson or Strange, I will take Strange. Thank you. Jeremy Cody sends in a question. Says JSN, Terry McLaurin, AJ Brown, Shakir. I need 2 wide receivers in a flex. Of those available options, I'm going McLaurin, AJ Brown, and Shakir. Unfortunately, because of the weather concerns of JSN's game, I'm leaning away from him. Thank you. Knight Rider says standard, Debo or Taylor Jr. at my flex. I'd rather play the running back. Give me Patrick Taylor there. TA Rug, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Let's see here. Gwen says, good evening. 2 questions. Safe to stack Higgins, Chase, and Brown. And if my opponent has Neighbors, should I still play Atlanta's defense? Thanks. I picked up Taylor and Spears for Pacheco. Yeah, you're good to go. Yeah, I 100% feel comfortable starting 3 Cincinnati Bengals, considering how high-powered the offense is. I have no issues playing Atlanta's defense. In regards to your opponent having Neighbors, I think that's wholly irrelevant. You are mainly starting Atlanta's defense because of Atlanta's special teams and additionally Drew Lock and his ability to turn over the ball on a consistent rate. So yeah, you're good to go there. Gabriel in the chat says, I would consider nothing on your channel run of the mill. I don't know what you're referring to. Oh, okay. I think. Oh, yeah. You were talking about. Okay. I know what you're talking about. So when I originally said run of the bill in regards to the hidden gems, what I meant to say, I think that's probably the wrong verbiage that I utilized in order to describe the hidden gems episode. What I meant was like the order in which we typically go about videos from Monday to Friday. That's like the normal progression. It goes, waiver wire, rankings, hidden gems. I don't know why I said run of the mill. I probably was looking for a word and my brain could not spit it out. So I just, the first thing that came to my mind, boom. I didn't want to say paint my numbers because I think that's a little bit more degrading of the content. But yeah, you know what I mean. I appreciate that. Okay, let's see here. Ricardo in the chat says, so I'm so excited for Brees Hall this week. I mean, listen, brother. Let's hope that he can score at least 10 points, please. I mean, I need him to get receiving utilization. That's it. That's all we need. Glenn sends in a question. Glenn, thank you very much. Let's see if I can find your question in the chat, Glenn. Glenn, I don't see anything typed in the live chat. If you could do me a favor, do that, and I'd be greatly appreciated. Thank you. Someone said Abdullah or Hill. When you say Hill, you mean Justice Hill, correct? If that is Justice Hill, I prefer to play Abdullah there. Rye in the chat says half PPR, Downs, Tim Patrick, Reed, or Austin. If I had to play one of the bunch, I think I'd probably play Calvin Austin. It's either Downs or Calvin Austin. I could go, you know what? Actually, it's probably just Josh Downs. I go Josh Downs 1, Calvin Austin 2, Reed 3, and Patrick 4. Tyrone Jenkins sends in a question, says, I need 2 wide receivers and a flex. In my full PPR, Jennings, Devontae Smith, Thielen, Kendre Miller. Cool. Kendre's the odd man out. Everybody else plays. Thank you. Glenn says, hi, Andrew. In a full PPR, flex Keenan Allen, Thielen, it says Thailand. Anyway, Keenan Allen, Thielen, Jerome Ford, Keon Coleman. Okay, of those available, if I'm playing one in the flex, is it Adam Thielen? Thank you. As to your next question, defensive start Ravens or Cincinnati? Play Cincinnati. Thank you. Mr. 305 says in a full point per reception league, Dowdle, Kendre Middle, Pacheco. Yeah, out of the available options you have there, Mr. Tress, I would play Rico Dowdle. Thank you. Twisted Folk sends in a question. Thank you, Twisted. Says in a half PPR, 1 flex, 1 wide receiver. We have St. Brown, AJ Brown, Bucky, or Dowdle. St. Brown, AJ Brown, Bucky, or Dowdle. Out of those available options, I'm going to play St. Brown there. That is my preferred. Now, if I'm going with what says flex plus 1. So if I'm playing another player alongside of St. Brown, it'd probably AJ Brown. Yeah, I probably have to play both those receivers. I don't think I can get away with not playing them. I could theoretically justify playing Dowdle ahead of AJ Brown based on his recent production. I just don't know if I can justify it. So for right now, I'd be both of the Brown wide receivers, AJ Brown and St. Brown. And it says my other team is there any justification to play Keenan Allen over Thielen or Thielen over St. Brown? No, I wouldn't. Again, playing somebody like Keenan Allen and Thielen, they could theoretically score St. Brown within a given week. But based on what we saw last week from Amon-Ra St. Brown, it is far too difficult to leave that potential on the bench. We know what his upside looks like. We know what his baseline of production looks like. He is the safest of the group based on his contributions as of late. Thank you. Bropez says, what's up, chat? Who else will be rocking with? Who else is rocking with Indianapolis defense this week with me? Okay, I see it. Let's see here. I saw Rice says, set up my lineup in a full PPR, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, 1 tight end, 1 flex. Okay, cool. So we got some pretty good options here. You have Mixon, Jacobs, Lamb, Downs, Tillman, Odunze, Ford, Davis. Not as many good options as I thought, actually. Look, Mixon and Jacobs are your running backs. Lamb is your wide receiver 1. Your next best wide receiver is technically Josh Downs. Your best tight end option out of Strange, and I would assume Hunter Henry, is Brenton Strange. And as for your flex option, your best available player is most likely Jerome Ford. Yeah, you've definitely been decimated by injuries, I can tell. Fairbairn or Ryland? Vesco, I play Fairbairn there. John Koziar says, hey, Andrew, what do you think about Adams? He's got to have a regression this week, right? No. Worried about the Jets having... Yeah, look, here's the thing. Okay, so let me just give you like a quick summary as to how my brain functions. I never look for players playing bad. I always want to hope that players ball the fuck out. But even in the case of Davante Adams this week, even though you may be thinking, oh man, it's gone so well, for so long, there's got to be 1 week off. Ultimately, it's purely just Aaron Rodgers ignoring Garrett Wilson at this point. He wants to get the ball in the direction of Davante Adams. I mean, even after the game the other day, Aaron Rodgers was interviewed because it was like the first game they won in 5 weeks. And the interviewer asked him, like, so what happened? Like, Davante Adams had this like nuclear game. He's like, at halftime, Davante Adams came, sat me down, and told me to throw him the ball. And that's what I did. It's like, all right, cool. So as long as we know that, Davante Adams is not afraid to get up in your face and let you know that he needs the ball, and you're more than obliged to do so, that gives me more confidence. But yeah, I mean, the Los Angeles Rams defense, I wouldn't feel like I'm afraid of them in any sort of capacity, whether it's on the ground or through the air. So I think all the Jets should be okay. It's just worst case scenario for the Jets. I think the player that is at the biggest potential for risk, unfortunately, is Breece Hall. If this game becomes a huge negative game script, he could be faded away if he doesn't get receiving upside. Otherwise, I think everybody else is always going to be implicated. All right, that was a very long-winded question or answer for something that was... Anyway, continuing on. Colin Smith says McMillan or Kendre? I think it's probably... Okay, so as of right now, I'd go with McMillan. That's the direction I'm going in. Again, with Kate Otten missing, I think Baker's going to have to look in his direction far more often. Why is everybody afraid to play London? Isn't Penix supposed to be great passer? I mean, he was a great deep passer in college. Again, is he going to be able to transition to the NFL? It's his first NFL start. We don't know what we can potentially anticipate to see. Worst case scenario, he comes out and throws 3 picks. He could be like Jameis Winston and come and throw the ball 40 times this week and be great. Or they could potentially try to protect him by running the ball the entire time. Time will tell. As of right now, I've moved up my rankings on Drake London ever so slightly in comparison to where I had it earlier this week. So I'm nervous about it, but am I willing to shut him down entirely? No. Mr. Trasero Cinco says, is it crazy for think about playing Penix over Jordan Love? I would say that is crazy, yes. Look, as of right now, where I have Penix in comparison to the rest of the bunch, so eliminating Bo Nix and Justin Herbert from my rankings from Thursday, Penix currently now sits at quarterback number 16. Depending on Sam Darnold's weather concerns, I might play him over Darnold because I have Darnold at 15 right now and Penix at 16. 14's like Tua, then I have Stafford, Mahomes, Richardson, Murray, Goff, Purdy, Love, Mayfield, Daniels, Hurts, Burrow, etc. Thank you. All right, so somebody said Anthony Richardson or Penix. At this point, I have to play Anthony Richardson. Andrews or Hawkinson? I'd rather have Mark Andrews in my lineup as of right now. Nervous at all about Mixon being a massive bust tomorrow? I mean, look, here's the thing. Mixon is either going to get you 20 points or he's going to get you 10 points. I don't think I'm worried about that scenario. Is he going to be 5 points tomorrow? I highly doubt that because of how much utilization he gets through the air additionally. So I'm not too worried about the current status of Mixon's upside within the given matchup. I understand full well, trust me, you're talking to the right guy when we're talking about matchups. The Kansas City Chiefs are incredible in terms of stopping the run. But is that still going to bother me enough to where I'm highly concerned about Mixon? The fact of the matter is he has been one of the best, if not arguably, a top 3 running back all season long for fantasy purposes when healthy. So really at this point, you have no other choice but to play him. And being nervous about the situation is just, it is making yourself nervous on purpose. It really is not necessary, because whether he balls out or not is completely out of your control. You are just obliged to play him based on how incredible he has been thus far this season. So we're kind of in a position where, like I've said in the past, we are starting our studs. Johnny38 says, start Stroud, Stafford, or Cooper Rush. I have Stafford ranked the highest of the bunch. Daryl Zhang says, hey, Andrew, half PPR, Patrick Taylor, Kendre Miller, or Addison. I'll take Patrick Taylor there. Jonathan Blum says, in a full PPR, Tracy or Miller. In a full PPR, I have Tracy higher than Miller. Hawkinson or Muth, I'd rather play Muth. Raptors fan 382 says, starting Brian Thomas and Garrett Wilson, benching Jerry Jeudy, smart move. I would suggest you do the exact same thing. I do not want to play Jerry Jeudy over Brian Thomas or Garrett Wilson. The other 2 alternative options you have are better than him, considering DTR at quarterback. Benzel sends in a question, says, Addison's better than Justin Jefferson? That's a good one. Let's see here. Taurus says, Rashad White or Dowdle? I'd rather have Dowdle in my lineup. Big Mac 2 says, PPR, Brees or JT? I'd rather have JT. Also, Drake or Reek, I'd rather have Tyreek Hill, assuming he's healthy. Atlanta or Minnesota's defense? As of right now, I have Atlanta ahead of them. Thank you. Jay McLaughlin says, hey, Andrew, best defense, Atlanta, Cincy, or Indy. Cincinnati is the highest ranked of the bunch. Brian Barry says, flex is driving me nuts. Can't decide between Devontae Smith, Zay Flowers, or Khalil Shakir. Leaning towards Zay. If Rashad Bateman is out tomorrow, I would suggest you play Zay Flowers. In the event in which he is not inactive, at that point, I'm playing Devontae Smith. Thank you. Prohibit says, hi, how will Spears be if Pollard is out? As it currently stands, I was working on my rankings prior to the live stream. As it currently stands, under the assumption that Pollard is out, I currently have Tyjae Spears as RB18. So he is going to be, he could even be better than that if he scores multiple touchdowns again. But based on what we saw this most recent week, he certainly will be of upside value. So just expect him to be really, really, really solid in the absence of Pollard, assuming that takes place, of course. Jonnu or Kelsey, just play Jonnu there. Stroud or Williams, as of right now, I believe, let me confirm, I have Caleb Williams 1 spot ahead of Stroud. Ebbs and Flow says, hey, Andrew, in a full PPR, do I play Hill or wait for Pollard/Miller? Thanks. No, I play Hill there, outright. Wade says, hey, Andrew, I have to decide between Kupp and London on my wide receiver 2. I'd play Kupp there. Do not be afraid of his most recent performance against the 49ers in the heavy weather. Don't utilize that against him as ammunition. Do not cherry pick that. He's been a great wide receiver all season long. He'll be great this week. CJ or Penix? I'd rather play Penix. I'm not even joking. Ashish says, full PPR, Russell Wilson, Anthony Richardson, Stafford, Sam Darnold, the quarterback. Richardson's my highest ranked. Let's see here. Riaz says, full PPR, start 2, Garrett Wilson, Kupp, or Bucky Irving. In a full PPR, I probably lean both the wide receivers is the direction that I would lean in a full PPR. If it was half PPR, I'd probably go Kupp and Bucky, though. Let's see here. Chase sends in a question, says, Terry or Kupp? As of right now, in a full PPR, I think it's probably safer to go Kupp there. Just because you have such a close matchup that could be very detrimental to one of the two, Kupp is probably the better play. Appreciate you. Okay, so again, a couple reminders. We've been here for about an hour 21. I typically like almost an hour 22. I'm going to be back tomorrow morning starting at 8 a.m. PST. We'll be live streaming for 2 hours answering questions for, of course, the 2 slated games tomorrow, Kansas City versus Houston, and, of course, Steelers versus Baltimore. After that, of course, we'll be then again back on on Sunday morning, 7 a.m. I'll be back with a 3-hour live stream. But that's pretty much where we're going to conclude it here tonight. I see somebody asking Burrow or Daniels. I'd rather have Joe Burrow in my lineup. Thank you. Adams or Mixon. I'd rather play Devontae Adams. So, anyway, tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. If you have any more questions, be sure to swing on by. Sunday morning, we can do the same thing. Of course, as we get closer to Sunday, we'll get a little bit more clarity regarding some of these situations, specifically Tony Pollard, Rashad Bateman, specifically tomorrow. But in regards to tomorrow's games, I think it's relatively simple. There's not really any injury concern outside of Rashad Bateman that we're contemplating. But yeah, that's the way that we're going about it. I'll be back tomorrow, 8 a.m. If you guys want to swing on by, ask questions, get that kind of stuff answered, that'd be greatly appreciated. Again, I will have up-to-date rankings on screen tomorrow morning, like I do on Sunday mornings, because it's kind of a special thing having 2 Saturday games. It's kind of interesting. So yeah, keep that in mind. All right, guys. Thank you, everybody. Hope you enjoy the rest of your wonderful Friday night. Again, I'm going to go work on rankings for the next, what time is it right now? It's 8. I'm going to go work on rankings for the next 4 hours. And I'll see you guys in the morning. I'm going to go ahead and answer, let's say, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to cue the music. I'm going to let the music run. After the music finishes running, I'm going to answer 10 questions after the fact, okay? So as soon as the music ends, type in your question. I'm answering the first 10 questions there, and then I'm leaving, okay? Thank you. Appreciate it. Cueing the music. Have a great rest of your night. And until next time, I'll see you guys. Peace. Okay, so like I said, I'm going to be answering the next 10 questions. Super chats do not count, okay? Please do not send any more super chats. I greatly appreciate it. Trust me, it helps keep the lights on. It definitely does. Mike King, you're the best. Thank you. It says half PPR. Need 3, Rico, Chuba, Terry McLaurin, Neighbors. Cool. So of those available in a half PPR, I probably go like Rico, Chuba, and Neighbors. And I just don't even risk the Terry McLaurin play. And I play the other 3 options. Thank you. All right, let's see here. B for work says half PPR. Okay, so it's Bucky or BTJ. I'd rather play BTJ. Sleeper quarterbacks this week. It's Penix. The Beaver says LMAO at work listening to Andrew the whole time. Atta baby, let's go Beaver. Max Keller says pick 2 PPR. Aaron Jones, Bucky, Irving, or Jennings. As of right now in a PPR, I'm taking Jones and Jennings there, Max. Thank you. CJ or Caleb? I prefer to play Caleb as of right now. Constantino says Darnold or is Love an easy pivot? It's a fantastic pivot. I'd actually prefer to play Love outright, even if the weather is solid in Seattle. But I get it if you want to just test the Darnold potential. Let's see here. Red and Black says Indianapolis, Cincinnati, or Atlanta this week. Cincinnati's my highest ranked of the group. Monetary Mo says Coleman, Ford, Dowdle, Worthy, Keenan, PPR, need 2 wide receivers and 1 flex. Dowdle has to play. Keenan Allen has to play. And Worthy has to play. Thank you. Mario says Chuba Hubbard or Rico Dowdle. Rico Dowdle. Mike says non-PPR pick 2 Judy, Brian Thomas, Pacheco 4, Patrick Taylor. Mike, I play Brian Thomas alongside of in a non-PPR, probably Patrick Taylor there. Chris Bentley says Darnold, Goff, or Love in a half PPR. The order which I currently have it ranked is Love 1, Goff 2, Darnold 3. Packers or Vikings defense. Packers are my number 2 defense on the week. William Vasquez, play the Packers. Setman, T. Higgins or B. Johnson. Who's B. Johnson? Am I crazy? Someone tell me I'm crazy. Who the... Wait a minute. Hold up. Control F, Johnson. Who's B. Johnson? Am I lost my mind? I swear. Okay, anyway. Jeremy Cody, what's up, man? Says 2 wide receivers and a flex. We have Brees, McLaurin, JSN, AJ Brown, Shakir. Okay. 2 wide receivers and a flex. So the 2 wide receivers that I would play are AJ Brown, and I'd play McLaurin alongside of him, and I'd flex Brees Hall. Thank you. Kendre Miller's, what does it say? Kendre Miller, Keenan Allen, or Pacheco, full PPR. Nachos, I'd play Keenan Allen there. Kendre Miller or Romeo Dobbs in a full PPR. It depends on actually the format. If it's a half, I'll just take Kendre. If it's a full, then I'll test it. You know what? Yeah. In a full PPR, I'd risk it with Romeo. All right, I think that's 10 questions. Maybe 2 more. Chocolate chip cookies or brownie? Both. We don't pick one or the other. We have both, brother. Come on. You know the deal here. All right. J Rays. Guys, I'm going to be back tomorrow morning. I know it's an 8 a.m. stream, but if you're on the East Coast, that's 11 a.m. You'll be here. I'll be answering questions. Trust me, if I'm not able to answer. B. Thomas? Oh, okay. Yeah. Play Brian Thomas there over Higgins. J Rays is going to be the final question here. Says sit 1 non-PPR McLaurin, CD, BTJ, Neighbors. If I'm sitting one of the bunch, I'm sitting McLaurin. Everybody else plays. Thank you. All right, guys. Have a great rest of your night. I will see you in the morning, 8 a.m. PST, sharp, early, ready to go, firing on all cylinders. Peace. You know, I thought I was going to end the stream. And then C-Crip had to come in here and send in a super chat. I'm going to be back. Crip. All right. It says, need to flex. Full PPR. I swear, I literally clicked end stream. I clicked it. I'm basically talking in the void almost. Okay, here we go. C-Crip. Hollywood, Patrick Taylor, Kendre, McMillan, Jennings, or DK. Jennings has to play there in a full PPR. Thank you. All right, I'm gone now. I'm actually gone.